glad to be together with Hashem's loving grace, learning a brand new series that everyone can relate to. The series is called Reaching for the Stars, and it's how to attain the very best, become the very best you could be, attain your personal potential. And very few people attain their potential. Hashem gives them much more talent than they think they have. They have much more capability than they think they have. And we're going to learn how to tap in to those powers that Hashem gives each of us and to unlock our vast potential. And we're going to be reaching for the stars. So we reach for the stars. I'm not going to get the stars, but if you reach for them, you'll still land pretty high. Baruch Hashem. So even something, the one thing where Emunah and the psychologists come together, if anybody says anything true, then it's going to touch Emunah. Right. So one thing that the psychologists say that is true, that people don't fulfill their potential due to a number of internal struggles they have. They say that the reasons for the internal struggles, we have our reasons. Okay, but what the fact that people do not fulfill their potential, and that's a shame. That's a shame. So in that effect, these lessons are good for you if you're 18 or if you're 80. Either way, because what Rabbi Nachman said, it's never, as long as the candle's burning, you can still rectify. We can still improve ourselves. The candle burning is a metaphor that as long as the light of the soul, the light of the neshama is kindled inside of us, that we're still alive. And we're still alive, and we're not here to tread water. We're here to improve ourselves until, like they say in football, the 90th minute, the final whistle blows and the game's over. Okay, so why don't people fulfill their potential? It's a combination of internal struggles that people have and external circumstances. Well, the internal struggles, we're going to touch on them one by one. Failure, self-doubt, perfectionism, perfect, a lack of direction, and comfort zone traps. This is a Western society very trapped in comfort zone. Now, the external factors, they refer to things like our circumstances of birth, whether you maybe grew up in a poverty-stricken home, didn't have the same opportunities that someone with a silver spoon had, or not proper support systems, like a person may have had abusive parents, and all kinds of life circumstances, family obligations. Maybe it's a one parent family and had to go to work at an early age rather than doing what you want to do, get proper education. But we're going to show how these external factors don't hold us back. Because the external factors, like everything, they come from Hashem, and they are to make us great. They are each one of our own circumstances. Hashem gave each of us the circumstances that we think they're detrimental. We think that we grew up with disadvantage, but this disadvantage is our advantage. It's very much our advantage. So we're going to learn how to overcome both the internal and the external obstacles that keep us from reaching our goals, and I think to get them out the way. So we won't let the internal obstacles become convenient excuses. People have convenient excuses that why they don't succeed. There's the Monday morning papers that the championship game is on Sunday. So who is the coach that gets interviewed in the sports pages of the local newspaper? That's the losing coach. Why? They don't interview the winning coach. The winning coach doesn't have to explain why he won the game, because he won the game. He's the victor. But the losing coach, he has all types of excuses and reasons. The game, we came at the town late, and the hotel wasn't good, and the halfback had sniffles, and this one had that, and this one had a sprained ankle. Okay, no, we're not looking for excuses in life. We're not looking for excuses why we're not being successful. And many people, they're full of excuses. These excuses, we're going to cast them away and show them no more be part of ourselves. And all the obstacles you have to understand, the obstacles to your success, the combination of your soul and your body together. People think they're a body, not a soul. That's next week we're to learn the combination of body and soul. But how to get the best synergistic effect between body and soul and to succeed. So this requires taking risks and doing something that's new, treading new territory. But you have to understand one thing. If you're doing new things, you're young forever. There are people 70, 80, 90, they're all the time learning. And as long as they're learning, they're growing. But there are people that are 22 that sit like couch potatoes in front of televisions, and they're stagnant. So they're very old. Could be 22 and very old, and could be 88 and very young. So we're going to develop the tools we need to overcome the internal barriers and put more emphasis on the internal barriers, and we'll touch on the exterior barrier, the external barriers also. So let's look at some of the major internal barriers that stand in our way. In other words, is know the enemy, know what get to know ourselves and our self-awareness of things that hang ups. You will see as we go down these things, you can identify, hey, yeah, that's me. Okay. And as you know, you recognize what a problem is. Like a doctor, you go to a doctor, as soon as the doctor diagnoses a certain sickness, that's already 50% of the cure. The problem is we don't get a cure when there's no diagnosis, no proper diagnosis. Or if there's the wrong diagnosis, gives the wrong medicine, the person gets more sick than he or she was. Okay, so the first thing, number one thing standing was a fear. What's fear? Fear of failure. People don't try things, they don't go forward, they fail. They don't set the bar higher in the high jump. They're afraid to try and jump higher because they might fall down, they might knock the bar off. Okay, so what? So you knock the bar off 19 times, but on the 20th time you succeeded. Same thing. We have to put the fear of trying new things, trying new goals, trying more growth, put that aside. And there's another fear that other people judge you. Other people judge you. Let me ask you a question. Where are those other people in the 120 after your 120 years when you get judged in the heavenly court? They're not going to be there. They're not going to be there. Don't have to pay attention to anyone who is not in some form your life guide, your spiritual guide. If you're an athlete, what your athletic coach tells you to do, you certainly have to pay attention. If you're in the army, what your commander tells you to do, certainly have to pay attention. But if a person has what were you doing? It could be a competitor to try and knock you down, or somebody competing with you, or thinks they view themselves competing with you, they want to be better than you, and so they don't want you to try it. They do not want you to attempt to be better, and they'll try it. The failure judgment. Don't worry about judgment. And sometimes we're guilty of this also, when we discourage our own children from trying new things. So it could be an abusive parent or even a well-meaning parent, but you can't do this. You're not good enough for this. You might fail at this. So what's with fail? We instill these fears in our kids, our own fears and our own apprehensions. They come in to the spiritual and emotional DNA of our children. Okay, and this prevents us from trying to attain new goals that we never thought we could reach. And this prevents us from trying new things. And it's one thing, the truth, you can find a little bit of truth everywhere. And once you're trying the truth, that's the truth of Emunah, because truth comes from Hashem. I remember in my unit in the Army, it was a very good unit, and we went in, and the commander on the first day of basic training, he says, this is where you guys are going to be in 3 months, and this is where you're going to be in 6 months. They said, okay, and at graduation from the first 3 months basic training, we're going to be doing a 92-kilometer march with packs. What? I never did a 10-kilometer march. And all types of things, never believed it, but worked up to it, and they instilled one of the most important weapons that a combat soldier has, to believe in himself, or an athlete to believe in himself, or a businessman to believe in himself. We're going to learn the tools to believe in ourselves. Okay, so it brings us to the second point. So the first was fear. The second obstacle that stands in our way is the doubt that we have ourselves and our limiting beliefs. We see ourselves as limited. Hold it. We're going to learn that the body is limited. Oh yeah, you can't expect to do what a cat can do or to run as fast as a deer can. We're here humans. But as far as limitations of the soul, there's no limitations, because the soul is a tiny part of the Almighty. And just as the Almighty defies time and space, and there's no limitation, the Almighty is infinite, the soul's a tiny part of Him. This is our spiritual DNA. That's why we call Hashem our Father in heaven, because our souls are a tiny part of Hashem. So we have this in our spiritual DNA. There's no limitation. There's no limitation to what you can learn. There's no limitation to what you can improve yourself emotionally and spiritually. There is a limitation to how much you can run, or how fast you can run, or how far you can run, but you can work up to that. You can even increase that. But that is not so elastic as the soul. The soul can virtually do anything that a person decides. So we see that the great tzaddikim, Rabbi Nachman, lived until he was 38 years old. What he accomplished in 38 years, other people don't accomplish in three lifetimes. You know who else was 38 years old? The Arizal, the Holy Ari, the father of Kabbalah. What he accomplished in 38 years, 15 volumes of Kabbalah. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. Okay, so we're going to learn that what's the big manifestation of self-doubt when we have negative self-talk. We tell ourselves, I call it the itty bitty disappointing committee. It tells, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. Especially in marriage, people, especially in marriage, they look at someone else's spouse and they're jealous. They say, this woman is prettier than her. And the guy looks at someone else, this husband is much more successful in business than I am. Do you know what the definition of a good house? Let's suppose that Abraham and Sarah are married. It's not Sarah's job to be the best woman in the world. It's Sarah's job to be the best wife in the world for Abraham. It's not Abraham's job to be the best man in the world. It's his job to be the best possible husband in the world for Sarah. That means they have to get to know each other. They have to get out of their egotistical mode. They get to know that there's no limit to the compassion that they can have, no limit to the love they can have, no limit to the improvement. No, this is a comfort zone. This, what my spouse does for me, and all types of limitations make marriage increase. As soon as we learn this, our lesson's going to help us be better parents, help us be better spouses in marriage. Whatever we do, we're going to be better. And be better. That's why I was so interested, because keen on doing these lessons after we finish the Bitachon series to prepare these lessons. So this will advance us all in whatever endeavor we're doing. Another barrier is perfectionism. The people that you see those sometimes kids, they get this idea, and you see it. We were little kids. They used to buy these models that we glue the models together, models of the battleships and models of planes and models of cars. And sometimes a child gets this model or a Lego and he makes a little mistake and doesn't want the whole thing, would throw the thing away. Where'd you get this idea of perfectionism? It's not perfection. Perfection is only by Hashem. Okay, so the need to do things perfectly prevents people from starting things at all. Let me see a new recipe. You've never cooked anything like that, but it's something that you really want to try. You or your husband. Okay, I'm the one in the Brody home that tries the new recipes. Good. Okay, it's not, this is equal opportunity, husband and wife. But people say, oh, I've never done this, and maybe it won't come out good, and maybe I won't make it the right way. Try it. Okay, so the first time it's not the right way. We made it too salty. Second time you didn't bake it enough. Third time, okay, the third time it's gonna be fine. So don't let perfectionism, you died to be perfect, prevent you, again, from growing higher and starting new things. The next obstacle, we said the first was fear, second, self-doubt and limiting beliefs, the third, perfectionism. The fourth is comfort zone. That Western society public enemy number one. As people, what are they doing? Why are you working? Oh, I'm looking for leisure time. I'm working for vacation. It's like they said, athlete, what are you attempting? Oh, I'm struggling for halftime. I'm struggling for the break. That the boxer's looking forward to the bell between the rings. It's not between the rings what counts. It's what's you in the ring during the contest that counts. So with comfort zone, staying in familiar roots, it's not just a matter of level of difficulty. It's familiarity. A person doesn't want to go out of the way. That's something that's not maybe uncharted areas, afraid to go into uncharted area. For many people, going higher and success is uncharted area. As we learned in Bitachon, our 7 lessons of Bitachon, it's uncharted area for many people. Now, all of a sudden, you're not trusting your elbow grease and the might of my right hand, trusting Hashem. You know what happens when you trust Hashem for your income? It's not easy. You simply have to work out. Amuna is not easy. It's something we've been working, our group, we've been working on this. This is Amuna lesson, I think, at 220. that we've been learning for over 5 years together. This is something that it's a lifelong project. but all the time growing. Could look down at the members of the group, but how they've grown exponentially over the last 5 years. They don't even recognize themselves. But saying that looking at people where they were and where they started, person can't objectively see himself or herself. But I see the people in the group, how much growth. It's mind-boggling. Okay. So that is the fourth. The next limiting factor is the lack of goals, a lack of focus. I would use the example, maybe you remember from one of my lessons, talked about little Kim Jong, the Korean karate expert. Little Kim Jong, he doesn't weigh 100 pounds, maybe weighs 91, 93. But you see little Kim Jong, he stacks up this stack of 8-inch cinder blocks, 8-inch thick cinder blocks, and he's about to do an elbow strike. And he concentrates. What's a bit this? Kim Jong, he's got Hashem gave him an arm like a sledgehammer? No. Where does he get the power to do this? This is intense concentration, intense concentration. One similar Kim Jong instructor explained to me that, and it's something that was very important in a special force in the Army, explained to me that before he breaks those blocks, he visualizes his mind, those blocks being splintered. And all he sees is the point in the middle where he's going to make that strike. He goes with all his power, all his concentration, and makes that exact strike, follows through. If he doesn't, he's going to have a broken elbow or a broken hand if he's doing a hand strike, what we call a knife strike. And it's intense concentration. Now, as he raises his hand to do the knife strike or raises his elbow to the elbow strike, and someone will say, hey, Kim Jong, who's coming down, if he loses his focus for a second, his arm is broken. His arm or his hands, probably going to be broken. He's going to lose effect. But that he goes through and does this painlessly. Painlessly, he comes completely in the blocks that they just shatter. This is the focus on his goal. It's the same thing that they taught us in the Army, that before you go to goal, there's no option for not succeeding, because the option for not succeeding is people say Kaddish for you. You'd go to sit at the cemetery. No, there's no option for not succeeding. So your vision, the mission is already completed. Now you just have one little technical detail. How am I going to do it? Okay, that's no problem. But the fact that the outcome of the mission, that's already there. It's already done. It's already done. I'm going to be successful. And that is focusing on the goal and the type of self-confidence. You can't do that by sleeping in bed. You have a lot of practice and a lot of hard work. Okay, but this is clear direction and our ambition to succeed in what we're doing. Otherwise, people drift. People say, but Rabbi, why don't I succeed in learning? I ask me, what I to try and learn? I say, I see, well, my brother, you've got your smartphone on the desk next to your Gemara. I said, what's that for? He said, well, maybe I get a text message. Something. So you've got one eye on your Gemara and you got one eye on text message. Let me tell you something. The Talmud is difficult enough to learn with an entire brain and with two eyes. And same people have car accidents because they got one eye on text message and one eye on the road. It's difficult enough to drive with the two eyes on the road. That's the reason that 5 years ago I gave up my driver's license, because I just saw the people nowadays, they didn't have their eyes on the road. I'm not worried about myself. I'm a great driver. And drive heavy equipment and drive a tank and drive a tractor and certainly drive a car. But looking around, I'm so worried about the other people. Now, I don't want to be on a road like that. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll go on public transportation. No problem. But that's what people, they're unsuccessful at driving. They have accidents because they're not concentrating 100% on what they're doing. They're unsuccessful in their learning because they're not concentrating on what they're doing. And how many times, isn't it really upsetting? You go to a store or you're speaking to some type of salesman, maybe a real estate salesman, car salesman, and while they're talking to you, it's just so impolite that they take out their cell phone, they're answering calls, this and that. When you're speaking to someone, put your cell phone on silent and concentrate on what you're doing. Give the person your full attention. But people do things without attention and without focus, and then wonder why they're not successful. That's it. You have to understand this is, again, the evil inclination stands behind all these obstacles. This evil inclination does not want you to focus. And but the focusing, this is after before that's you have a little prayer before you do something. Doesn't matter what you do. Hashem, help me cross the street. There are people that have been run over at crosswalks, heaven forbid. So you can't take things for especially. You have some truck driver that he has one eye on his text messaging. And he doesn't pay attention that somebody's crossing in a crosswalk, or he doesn't pay attention that the light turned red. Okay, so it's they have the old expression that they wrote on the person's tombstone, he had the right of way. It doesn't matter. If that doesn't matter. So we have to do anything we do successful, whether it's driving a car, whether it's learning, whatever job we're doing, we have to focus on our goal. And then the next obstacle, poor habits. What's poor habits? Poor habits examples are, you can fill your own. Procrastination, people put things off. A lack of discipline, have to know right now, lack of discipline. Okay, from this now I'm going to do this particular task. Okay, I'm going to do my housework, this particular task. Many people suffer that. Suppose the house all of a sudden looks messy. Where'd my day go? You know where your day went, young lady? Look at the record of your phone conversation. Look at the record of where you were surfing on the web or on the chat rooms doing things inconsequential. They're great. They're very savvy. All these psychologists that stand behind the algorithms, how to grab your attention and to move your focus onto their website or their advertising or whatever they're trying to sell you and get your focus off what you're supposed to be doing. So you have to be very careful about this. And this again, the evil inclination is hiding here. A next thing that we're going to learn, we have almost a whole lesson on this, is comparison. Do not compare yourself to anyone else, because just as we know, Hashem made our thumbprint unique. Hashem makes every snowflake unique. Why does Hashem go to the trouble of making our thumbprints unique? Because the thumbprint, you can imagine that this is the artist's signature. You are a work of art. And Hashem says it's his signature. You are unique. This is Hashem said, I've never made another one like you. There will be no other one like you. And there is. This is again, since our souls are a tiny part of Hashem, there is no one like Hashem, and he is one. And Hashem gives us this gift to show you, beloved son, beloved daughter, that you're a part of me. I'm making you one. Even if you have an identical twin, it's still that identical twin has its own separate thumbprint. You can't forge each other's thumbprints. And this is something that cannot be forged, because this is the sign that you are unique. And which means that Hashem gives you, you've got your own chromosome map. To get that thumbprint, you have a unique chromosome map. It tells you what's going on inside your DNA. And Hashem gave you that special chromosome map and the special aptitudes and abilities to do a job that no one else can do on earth. And this is something we have to identify. And this is something we're going to identify in this series of lessons. What are my talents? What is the best? And this is not occupational therapy. It's better than occupational therapy. It's Amuna soul therapy, where I find out the powers of my soul and tap into the powers of my soul. And this, a lot of people do this. I'm giving away the underlying message of all our series, because Western society thinks we're a body. The people tell you you're a Gillette, and if you don't have the 22, if you don't have six-pack abs or 22-inch biceps, then you're nothing. And then as far as the women go, she's got to be a size 4, and she's got to be a Twiggy, or oh, come on. And if she's not wearing Helena Rubinstein or Estee Lauder or whatever, nail polish, who knows? That's all garbage. There's nothing. The real me, as we'll learn, it's the soul. And people don't attain their potential, not near the potential, because they neglect their souls. All right. And that brings us to the comparing. So there's no use comparing to, an elephant compares himself to a giraffe. That's not a quite successful. An elephant will never have a neck as long as a giraffe, and a giraffe will never have the power of an elephant. And these created for its job on Earth, and this particular species created for its job on Earth. Our final obstacle, there's a lot of them, but to try to make these in big categories, is a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset that we believe that our abilities are static. Okay, this is what I can do. This was I was born to do. And this prevents further development. This prevents further advance it with further development. It's important development. And people stop developing in their 30s. No, go for it in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, 70s, 80s. Went to the brand new, my 70th birthday, and parted on a brand new project, but something brand new, completely different. That up till age 69, I was employed by other people. Get self-employed at 70. Never the greatest move ever made. So people, what is 70? You're doing this? It's 70. I don't feel like I'm 70. Every time I look at the ID card or the passport, but okay, it says May 13th, 1949. So what? So what? But that doesn't limit me. I don't tell myself when I'm working out every morning. No, gee, we believe it because you're young and you're growing and you have new challenges. And it's just the fact of a new series, preparing a new series and for me to get these thoughts together and organize the materials, all the time learning, all the time learning. And but you were hopefully that this is new ideas, new thoughts that maybe you didn't have. Maybe even if you did have these thoughts or these concepts, but now we're honing them, we're more internalizing them. This is new thoughts. This keeps you young. That's the advantage of learning in our group. It keeps you young because this is nourishment for the soul. Even though you don't think maybe it sounds like we're talking about mundane things, improving our potential, become better people. No, this is about our soul because we're tapping into the powers of the soul. So maybe you ask yourselves, wait a second, look at these hurdles. They had hurdle. Number one was fear. Number two was self-doubt and limiting beliefs. Number three was perfectionism. Number four was comfort zone. Number five, lack of focus. Number six, poor habits. We all have them. Number seven, comparing ourselves to other people. We do that even non-voluntarily, accidentally. And number eight, a fixed mindset. 8 big hurdles. And ask us, wait a second, hold it. Rav Laser, how in the world am I going to overcome these things? I got a one-word answer for you. Cherished brothers, sisters, emunah. With emunah, believing in Hashem and learning to believe in ourselves, we're going to discover the Creator. We're going to discover ourselves and just see how what Rabbi Nachman said, these hurdles are like fluff. They're like it looks up a big wall, and the wall is made, it looks like a big reinforced iron and steel, 8-foot thick concrete wall. Rabbi Nachman says, no, it's all made of chicken feathers. Just go, foo, and you blow them all aside. And this is what the evil inclination tells us, that all these barriers, it's a tremendous barrier. You're never going to overcome them. And Rabbi Nachman says, no, we overcome them. You're going to walk right through them. Walk right through them. It's just a matter, it's a limitation of the mind. And this is another hint that the concepts we learn here, concepts in Emunah, and largely based on the teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who was the master of the soul and the master of improving ourselves. Okay, so just as we applied in all our lessons, we spoke about bitachon, we applied emunah into making a better living. And our series of lessons, if you remember them, the partner, when we talked about marriage, we talked about the bond of the soul, bond of emunah. We talked about how applying emunah to marriage. And we spoke about our 13 principles of emunah. We talked about emunah, applying emunah to every facet in our lives. So now we're going to take the same principles of emunah and we're going to apply them to attaining our potential, and we're going to reach for the stars. And no matter who we are and where we are, and a person could be bedridden or in a wheelchair, you can still dare to bring your bar higher. And you can see how courageous people in rehab, courageous people that have lost limbs in a war. And I see this, it's very, very strengthening to see this. And this is one thing we do in spiritual rehab, is convince them that no matter what they are, they can set the bar higher and show them how Hashem gives them their disadvantage to make them so much stronger than they ever were. For example, I spoke to an officer, a battalion commander, who lost 2 limbs in Gaza. And in the beginning, he was very broken and just secular. As made like spiritual, he got closer and closer to Emuna, closer and closer, and he developed strengths that he never imagined he had, and all in rehab, and developed himself that when he came out of rehab, he was so strong and so convicted that he was all of a sudden invited and very eloquent, invited to be a guest speaker at so many different places. He was inspiring other people. He never believed that he was a person to inspire other people. He himself was a warrior, but no, Hashem showed him different talents. But now that he can't run around on his legs, he's using his neshama to strengthen so many other people and bring so much good to the world. This is a person that lost two legs, had two legs blown off in Gaza in the first couple months of the war. Okay, so the limitations we have, all limitations of the mind. Rabbi Nachman calls them limitations of the mind. And can have the pleasure of introducing you to someone who you never, ever knew. You know who that is? Yourself. You're going to get to know yourself and me, yourself. And I promise you, you're going to love that person, because maybe you don't love him or her enough because you don't know them well enough. And that's, if you want to love a person, you have to get to know them very well. And so most people are so busy on a chinchilla wheel, like chinchillas in a rat race, that they don't have time. Hold it, get off the wheel and start thinking about it. Rabbi Nachman had a beautiful expression. Rabbi Nachman said that he said this back in the late 1700s when he was alive. He said to one young man, he looked out the window, and there's one young man that was once poor. And when he was poor, he would participate in the prayers every morning, put on tefillin every morning, learn Torah every morning. But then circumstances from the evil inclination, he got a test. He became rich. Rather than using his money for philanthropy and doing good things. No, he went for more money. And as his lust for money, as we're learning in the Master Prayer, his lust for money just grew. And the lust for money override the prayers. He didn't participate in the prayer quorum in the minyan anymore. And he did. So Rabbi Nachman once, before praying in the morning, he looked out of his window, the study's window, and he saw this young man running. And he said to him, Yiddish, young man, come here. He said, have you looked at the sky today? Can you tell me the color of the sky? It's a famous Rabbi Nachman expression. Can you tell me the color of the sky? Many people do not know the color of the sky. Say, is the sky cloudy? It's not cloudy. They didn't pay attention. They don't know. You cannot imagine how many people don't know. And this is Rabbi Nachman said. So if they can't see the sky during the day, they don't see the stars at night. And if they don't see the stars, they're certainly not going to reach them. So we're going to look at the stars and be stargazers, and B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to reach the stars. So the first thing we need to get to know ourselves. Get to know ourselves. And once again, I'm pleased to introduce you to yourself. Okay. What does it mean to get to know ourselves? Take any successful salesperson, that salesperson, whether he or she sells real estate or cars or vacuum cleaners, they believe 100% in the product that they're selling. Because if they don't believe in the product, they're not going to be able to sell it. They won't be able to convince you. And this, the Gemara tells us, things that come out of the heart go into the heart. And this is something, one thing I'm made very careful about is anything that I teach, anything that I speak about in our lessons, either I've been learning it, or if I haven't internalized it, I'm working on it. That's why I say we're learning this together. We're trying to learn this together. But if I'm not striving for this myself, then it's not going to come from my heart. If it doesn't come out from my heart, it's not going to penetrate your heart. That is an ironclad law from the Talmud. That's why I see people say people preach at you. What does it mean when people preach at you? That they give you all types of morality lessons. Why doesn't that penetrate the heart? Because, well, if Moses would have told you, or Abraham or Sarah would have told you, that they would have gone in. Because you know that Moses wouldn't tell you, or Abraham and Sarah wouldn't tell you anything that they didn't practice. But someone is pricking, some highbrow is talking, and that was something that he himself is far from keeping. So he doesn't believe it himself, so it doesn't go into your heart. It's not part of his heart, it doesn't go into your heart. So in order to be charismatic to convince other people. You have to believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself. So success frequently eludes people because they don't believe in themselves. How do you expect another person to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself? And this shows, this reflects in our speech, reflects in our body language, reflects in our gestures. So if you don't believe in yourself, I say it's a sign that you don't know yourself. Because if you knew yourself, then, and you knew the powers that Hashem gave you, you'd love yourself. But there's nothing, not only do you don't know yourself, but that your image of yourself is inaccurate. If you think that you're unsuccessful, you think that you're not good enough, you think that you're deficient. Deficient. Yeah, I'm deficient. I'm deficient. If I would go in a ring with a professional boxer, I wouldn't last for 3 seconds. Okay, yeah, deficient. I'm not strong enough. If I would race somebody in an Olympic track team, but hey, by the time I got off the bars, he'd be in the finish line. Oh, I'm deficient. I'm not fast enough. You look at everybody, look at other people. We said about comparison. I'm deficient, deficient. Well, wait a second. I look at myself in the mirror. Laser, that's not your soul correction. That's not their soul correction. Hashem didn't need to make you fierce like a lion or fast like a gazelle. That's not part of you. So if I see something that's a deficiency, a seeming deficiency, it's not something I need. It's not in my toolbox. For example, we'll learn also later about the different toolboxes. Take, for example, the plumber and the carpenter and the electrician. Each has his own toolbox. They all have unique tools. So imagine if the plumber is jealous that the carpenter has a block plane. The block plane, he needs that block plane to smooth out the wood, smooth out the rough wood, and needs sandpaper to make the fine surface. That doesn't help in pipes. You don't need a block plane of a plumber. And the car, he's got monkey wrenches. He's got things he needs to unclog drains. The electrician doesn't need a monkey wrench. He wants to stay away from the water. He's not trying to open up the drains. And the electrician, he has tools that neither the carpenter or the plumber needs. So we can't be jealous of other people's tools. And we look at ourselves as deficient. That is inaccurate. That's inaccurate. Let's change the mindset. Change the way you look at yourself. You look at yourself, we're going to learn how to establish, how to evaluate our pluses and our seemingly minuses. And our seemingly minuses, no, to our soul correction. Okay, I am not 6'10", so I'm not 6'10". Instead, I'm 5'7". So at 5'7", I'm not meant to play in the NBA. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Thank you. Just one thing, cross it off my list, cross it off my aspirations list. Okay, we're not going to play in the NBA. Okay, I don't know ice skate. Okay, we're not going to play in the National Hockey League. No, not going to be a professional hockey player. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So we go. We all need to climb our personal mountain. We all need to climb as a person see himself. We have the what the astrologers say, the stars, that you were born under a certain star. Yeah, we were born under a certain star. That's true. That's true. But that's under the stars. That is the land of nature. And Moon is going to take us above the stars. So not only to focus on the stars, we're going to learn where to focus above the stars. But if I would say that we're going to reach for the stars, reach above the stars, people say, well, what's he smoke? I don't smoke anything. No, but we use the language that people understand, people that jest. Okay, so we all want to successfully meet life's challenges, and we all want to reach the stars. And even if we don't hit them, we're still going to land high. So the first thing we have to probe before setting on our journey to reach the stars is how to fulfill our potential and to reach our goal. That's very basic. And a basic question, who am I? How many people go through their entire lives on this earth? They live 8 or 9 decades, and they never ask themselves, who am I? They have this image, and they have this hang up. Maybe some kindergarten teacher or some nasty auntie told you at 5 years old that you're this or you're that or you're stupid or you're a coward, and this entered. And now at age 55, we're still straddled It's called the baby elephant syndrome. What's the baby elephant syndrome? The baby elephant, when he was a baby elephant, they tied him to a pole and the baby elephant couldn't get loose. So the baby elephant sees the rope and he sees the pole, that the rope and the pole cannot be overcome. But now the baby elephant grows. I don't know how much a grown elephant is. It's say 10 tons, 10-ton elephant. And they still tie him a rope at the pole. He could not only pull out the pole, he could pull out a whole string of a whole forest full of trees, but he's still strapped by this limitation when he was a baby. That's the baby elephant syndrome. So we can't walk around with baby elephant syndrome because somebody gave us a label. You are this. You are this. You are stupid. You are this. You are ugly. You are this lazy. You're lazy, okay? They told him he was 5 years old, he was lazy. So he thinks, all right, if I'm lazy, I'm going to sit in front of the telly for the rest of my life. No, don't get up and move. All those things, and psychologists, they deal with all types of methods, how to take us out of all they call scars to the soul. Not use that as excuses. Move forward with Emunah, and we plug into the soul. We can get past all of that. Emunah is the cure. And there's all types of ways of psychology. Why people, they go to psychology, go to psychotherapy. They're in psychotherapy for years about the same hang-up. And I've seldom seen people that make it through psychotherapy as changed people. But you see people that learn Emunah have come changed people. And that's the effectiveness of our Emunah coaching. It's a Baruch Hashem. Sadly, we become certified Emunah coaches, and with the tools that we have, helping people get to know their souls and get to know that their potential, and that the obstacles are a figment of the mind, or the mind, the left side of the mind, where the evil inclination is. Okay, so it might seem odd, the question we ask. We want to ask ourselves, who am I? And people right away react. They say, what a silly question. Are you implying that I don't know who I am? Yes, I'm not implying, I'm stating you don't know who you are. Excuse me, cherished brother and sister, you don't know who you are. Because if you don't love yourself, and you're not really happy with yourself, that you don't know who you are. Because if you saw who Hashem made you, you'd be happy. So unfortunately, in modern society, this is the whole thing of the algorithms and the advertising. The advertising goes to show that you have a lack. If you buy this particular cosmetic, you'll be great. If you get a subscription to this particular gym, you'll be great. If you this, in other words, the if is showing that if says that you're not good enough. As you are, you're not good enough. So you need our product. And the advertisers, the businesses, like they say, they have these algorithms, they have this advertising psychologists, I don't know what they call them, but they have people, a whole set, that are just how to get into people's souls. And they get big salaries because they sell lots of product. Lots of product. So this is the media, and it's the peer pressure and one's desired need or perceived need to gain the approval of others. And this motivates people to play these false roles and build these facades of false identities. That's where Helen Rubinstein comes in, or the cosmetic companies, Estee Lauder. They put this cosmetic smile on your face. Inside, she's clinically depressed. She's taking his Prozac and Zoloft, but she's got this cosmetic model smile. People lose focus of their true identity, and they gain these false identities. And these false identities, rather than reaching for the stars, it's reaching for the pit. It's falling into a pit. Because what's it falling a pit? As soon as you lose who you are, focus on who you are and your genuine individuality, it's falling in a pit. Now you're completely immobilized, because to make any gain in life means using your own talents and aptitudes. When a person has a false image of himself or herself, they're not using. Not only that, you don't have the talents that you think you did, or that you're trying to emulate someone else. And that's the double tragedy. Double tragedy by trying to this false identity and imitate a person who you might idolize, heaven forbid. You don't have that person's talents and aptitudes, and you're not fulfilling your own talents and aptitudes. So that is a double tragedy. And that's what I call the actors, quote unquote. They're never happy. Even if they succeed, their success is short term. And if you look, and this is a symptom of the movie actors and theater actors all the time playing a role. They're never happy with themselves. And why are you in such a profession? Because you're looking for fame, with people to recognize you, to recognize you. Then they go, how many of them? They could get a list of these performers that had fantastic fame committed suicide. Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and Karen Carpenter. She had such a beautiful voice that they committed suicide. Elvis Presley, who was more successful, more famous than Elvis, committed suicide. So it doesn't work. We could show if we'd only learn these lessons, they'd still be alive. Now, people on the opposite end of the scale, people that have delusions of grandeur, they think that they're better than they really are. So they too are frustrated because they have expectations that could never be met. And you see this in politics. You see this person thinks that he deserves to be. Yesterday, he became the low man in the local state legislature, but now he's running the country. He thinks that he's more capable than the president. Or you see someone who has been for 3 weeks in the army. He's been 3 weeks of basic training, but he knows better than the company commanders, better than the battalion commanders, better than generals, and the people that delusions of grandeur. So, example, even if a person thinks that he's a cheetah, he's never going to run as fast as a cheetah, because even the fastest human on Earth, what's the fastest human on Earth, runs 100 meters in 9.85 seconds or something like that. Still, Mr. Olympic gold champion, you're slower than a cheetah. You're not as fast as a cheetah is. So at the opposite end are people with inferiority complexes and low self-esteem, and they perceive that they lack the tools for success because they don't have the wherewithal to succeed. So these folks are really the people with neshamas of a lion or a tiger, and they look in the mirror and they see a tabby cat. I see a little tabby cat. You're not a tabby cat. You're a lion. You're a lion. It's again with the baby elephant syndrome that if a lion would grow up in a group of cats, a group of home cats, he'd think he's a house cat. Wouldn't believe that he's king of the jungle. So the common denominator of all too common prototypes we learned about is that they don't know themselves. That's why it's so important for us to recognize we have to learn about ourselves and about our talents and aptitudes. And these, once again, they're the play actors that live in a fantasy world. Okay, but what happens to the play actors? They live in a fantasy world, live in the stage, and sometimes the people have a schizophrenic tendency because they don't know who they are. The role I'm playing, or who's the real me, and sometimes they get confused. It's terrible disorientation because neither the actor nor the self is in contact with the truth because they don't establish their own aptitudes. It's just, oh yeah, I've my job. I'm a great actor. I'm a great actor. Okay, so you have a great actor. You have the great aptitude for be an obstacle to yourself. But that would be obstacle to yourself. So the moment we look objectively at who we really are, and what does that mean? It means accepting ourselves. Cherished brothers and sisters, you have to accept yourself for what you are. You can't blame yourself, well, I'm too bad by a circumstance of birth. Why wasn't I born the son of a big scholar, the son of a Rosh Hashiva? And, why is it born a butcher's son that had this old difficult journey? Because Hashem wanted to have this difficult journey. And Hashem, this is what was very important. It's very important to our own development, the different journey. And recognize the difficult journey, that is the first step to reaching the stars. Okay, this is my challenge in life. This is where I am, and this is where I need to go. But this is how to be honest with yourself. This is self-assessment. This is one of the things we do in daily personal prayer every day. We assess ourselves. Where am I in life? Where do I want to go? What are my talents and aptitudes? This is self-awareness. And all the time, we're going to be developing more self-awareness. You know what the self-awareness does for us? Self-awareness, we talk to Hashem every day. Wow, it's emotional freedom. It's emotional freedom that I don't need reassurance from other people. I don't need okays from other people. I don't need approval for other people. I don't need to be a people pleaser. So what happens if a person is a people pleaser, or if a person is waiting for an emotional handout? I think it's much more dignified when a beggar comes and asks for a coin than a person, the people that they beg for compliments. Please compliment me. I'm an emotional beggar. Person is, he or she is an emotional beggar. That is unfortunate. Why are they an emotional beggar? Because they don't feel good about themselves. And if you knew yourself, we're going to get to know ourselves. This is an introduction. Next week, we're going to get to know ourselves much better. Then this helps us free ourselves from this emotional prison that keeps us locked up. And that way, we're self-sufficient. In other words, all we need is Hashem. We're never self-sufficient. That's why I say self-sufficient of other people, self-sufficient of other factors, but never, ever. We all need Hashem for every single breath, for every single heartbeat. And that way, don't ever want to be in a situation where you need an emotional handout from other people to feel good about yourselves. So we're going to hold up here, right here, because next week we start the mechanical to tell you a story to help get to know yourself. And we'll continue on to getting to know ourselves. In the meanwhile, don't forget that Hanukkah is Sunday night, the first night of Hanukkah. Hashem should bless everyone with a wonderful Shabbat, wonderful Hanukkah. Don't ever forget, we'll learn more and more, what a wonderful person you are, and Hashem loves you.